The Atlantic Wall was Nazi Germany's massive coastal defense system stretching over 2,000 miles from Norway to the French-Spanish border. Built between 1942 and 1944 under the direction of Field Marshal Erwin Rommel and other German commanders, it was intended to repel an anticipated Allied invasion of Western Europe. With millions of tons of concrete, thousands of bunkers and an arsenal of weapons, the Atlantic Wall seemed formidable. But when D-Day arrived on June 6, 1944, the Allies broke through in a matter of hours. So, was the Atlantic Wall a failure of planning and execution, or an understandable, even logical, strategic decision in the face of overwhelming odds? Origins of the Atlantic Wall. Following Germany's occupation of Western Europe in 1940, Hitler feared an eventual Allied counterattack. After the failed Dieppe raid in 1942, where Canadian troops suffered heavy losses in a frontal assault on a French port, the German High Command believed the next invasion would be much larger and better prepared. In response, Hitler ordered the construction of the Atlantic Wall, a vast network of concrete bunkers and pillboxes, anti-tank obstacles and beach defenses, artillery batteries and machine gun nests, mines, barbed wire and underwater traps. By early 1944, over 500,000 workers, many forced laborers, had been employed to build the wall. The defenses were strongest around key ports and anticipated landing zones like Calais, which the Germans believed was the most likely site for an invasion. Rommel's role and realism. In late 1943, Field Marshal Erwin Rommel was placed in charge of the wall's fortifications. A veteran of North Africa, Rommel was convinced that the Allies had to be defeated at the beach, before they could establish a foothold. His team focused on flooding lowlands to hinder Allied paratroopers, installing Rommel's asparagus, wooden poles, in open fields to disrupt glider landings, strengthening beach obstacles like check hedgehogs and anti-landing craft devices. Rommel also demanded mobile reserves be placed closer to the front, but he clashed with the German High Command, particularly Hitler, who insisted on keeping armored divisions inland to avoid premature engagement. D-Day, the test of the wall. On June 6, 1944, the Allied invasion force, over 150,000 troops, landed across 5 beaches in Normandy: Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juno, and Sword. At Omaha Beach, the Atlantic Wall inflicted severe casualties on American forces. Machine gun nests, artillery, and obstacles caused chaos. However, at other beaches, especially Utah and Gold, Allied engineering, air power, and surprise helped overcome defenses more quickly. Paratroopers, landing behind the lines, disrupted German coordination. By the end of the day, the Allies had breached the impenetrable wall and established beachheads. Within a week, over 325,000 troops were ashore. The Atlantic Wall had not held. Why did the Atlantic Wall fail? 1. Overstretched defenses. The wall spanned thousands of miles. Germany couldn't fortify every inch. Many areas were thinly defended. 2. Misplaced focus on Calais. German intelligence believed the main invasion would come at Calais. Normandy was less fortified as a result. 3. Delayed response. Hitler refused to release panzer divisions until it was too late. The lack of mobile counterattack doomed German forces to fight static defenses. 4. Air and naval supremacy. The Allies controlled the skies and seas, disrupting German supply lines and hammering bunkers before troops landed. 5. Inflexible command. Centralized control and Hitler's micromanagement meant local commanders lacked the autonomy to react quickly. Foresight or futility? Despite its failure to stop the Allied landings, the Atlantic Wall was not entirely without strategic merit. It delayed the Allies in places like Omaha, where the U.S. 1st Infantry Division faced devastating fire. It required massive Allied planning and innovation, including specialized tanks, Hobart's funnies, and floating harbors, mulberries. It was a logical defensive effort given Germany's dwindling resources and manpower by 1944. Still, the wall was fundamentally flawed in concept. Static defenses in a modern war, where air power, mobility, and combined operations dominated, were outdated. The Allies learned this lesson in France in 1940. Germany failed to apply it in reverse. Legacy of the Wall. Today, remnants of the Atlantic Wall can still be seen across Western Europe. Crumbling bunkers, rusting gun emplacements, and eerie pillboxes. They serve as a stark reminder of a failed effort to stop the inevitable. The Atlantic Wall was not simply a failure of engineering, it was a failure of strategic thinking. It represented a desperate attempt to hold back the tide of Allied power with concrete and steel, but the momentum of history and modern warfare rendered it obsolete before the first boots hit the beach.